Hi, my name is Florian Edukaushe, and today we'll be talking about the basics of JavaScript. Let me just share my screen so that we get started. Okay, so JavaScript was originally developed by a man called Brendan Eich at Netscape under the name Mocha. Later, he renamed it LiveScript, and finally, it was renamed JavaScript as we know now. JavaScript is most often used in web pages on the client side. That's the web browser. So whether you are using Mozilla, Chrome, or Internet Explorer, you can have access to JavaScript. Despite this name, JavaScript has nothing or little to do with the Java programming language. They are similar in some ways, such as their syntaxes, uh, such as names, dates, and strings. Uh, One can find a good online tutorial for JavaScript at w3schools.com and other references from developer.mozilla.org. In order for one to be able to code in JavaScript, he has to have a prior knowledge in HTML. Currently, the latest version is HTML5. Now, before you can start coding, you need a text editor. If you are using a Windows computer, you would need to use a Notepad++, and for those using Mac or Apple computers, you can use Text Wrangler. Using your text editor, you can write a JavaScript code in an HTML file. However, you must place the JavaScript code between opening and closing tags. Although it is possible to place your tags in the body of an HTML document, you should normally place tags in the head of the HTML document. This is just a standard way of doing it. It makes no difference. Now, comments are notes or documentation that a programmer writes for himself or other programmers that will look at his code. So if I want to explain something about my code, I would use comments. And there are two types of comments in JavaScript. We have the style single line and the multi-line. A single line comment begins with two forward dashes and ends when the text ends, while the multi-comment begins with a forward slash, an asterisk, and ends with an asterisk and a forward slash. And in JavaScript, mostly all that we code are called statements. So a JavaScript program is usually composed of statements. A statement is a complete command with a program. Now in JavaScript, in order for you to write a statement, you have to use a semicolon. We'll be looking at that. Now, when writing a program, usually programmers will use the curly brackets when they start and use it when they close. Okay, so now let's switch to our text editor. Okay, so this is a program which um, gives a result whereby a person puts in his name and a scripture comes up with a person's name in it. So that this file is in HTML5, and this is the opening tag, this is the head. So these are virtually things that we need to know in HTML. Okay, so I'll just move right on to JavaScript. Now, in order for us to use JavaScript to write a program, we have to first analyze the program, right? So we are trying to solve a problem. The first thing we have to do is input. You write a defining table. Is there going to be an input? And in this case, the user will input his name, which will be processed. So a scripture will be created, and there will be an output, which will be a scripture with a person's name. Now in JavaScript, you always need to have a function. After the defining table, you need to have a function. The function can be any name that you desire. I decided to use apply scripture, but upon using that name, down here, this is the button where the user will click in order for this scripture to appear. So this function is the same as we see up here. This should be the same in the button as is in the function. So in JavaScript, in order to declare a variable, we use var. Declaring a variable is telling the computer to leave a space so that when you assign a value to that variable, there will be space for it to be stored. So in this case, this variable is called name, and this statement right here is telling the user that you can put the name there. Now we come to processing. We all know that the program is supposed to give a result of a scripture with the person's name. So we process. So what this is called string concatenation. You use a class which is a string concatenation operator. So this is a set of string. This is a set of string. So is this a set of string? But because we've already declared it here, so we use string concatenation to join those strings or those texts. Now finally, the output. So there has to be a display. In order for you to display something in JavaScript, you use this command, document.getElementById to bracket output div.innerHTML. This will pull this here to display it. Now that's why we equal this to the variable scripture. Now this right here shows the inbox whereby the user would type his name. This is the button on which the user will click, and this is the division. It actually shows that the file can be divided, and in this case it has been divided into 3: input, processing, and output. That's all about JavaScript, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.